First, I'll be talking with my new friend, David Cobb of Move to Men. David, I believe from our conversations we had earlier this morning, is also a member of the Green Party. And if I did my research right, is a former presidential candidate as well. So this is really exciting. And then later in the show, I will speak with Michael Salomon, patron saint of the way. And we'll talk about his piece that just dropped today, A Tale of Two Conventions. So David Cobb, because you guys know my producer's also name is David. So I have a lot of Davids in the house tonight. David Cobb, thank you so much. How are you this evening?
I'm doing mighty fine. I know it's a pleasure to be with you, and David, to meet you. And I'm actually going to hang in and listen to your next segment because I was both in Cleveland as well. So I'm going to be both a guest and a participant in the second segment.
Okay, sweet. Wonderful. So it's just so much going on, but how was that? I mean, we first spoke ahead of the People's Convention, actually. And for just a refresher, everyone, People's Convention took place the Saturday before the Democratic National Convention. Was, a convergence, meeting of the minds. I mean, there were so many different events that happened during the DNC week too, but can you just talk just a little bit about, that experience and then also some of the other things you were telling about from that week as well?
Sure. So I want to be very straight up, Anoa, with you and your viewers. I am a revolutionary. I'm a nonviolent revolutionary, but I am absolutely a revolutionary because I know that we can't just tinker at the margins of this current racist, sexist, class oppressive system. We really have to restructure society. And as such, straight up, I was originally not going to go to Cleveland or to Philly. 2 months ago, I had actually said, looky here, I've been to most of those protests and demonstrations, and I had come down on, I'm tired of shouting at buildings, right? I mean, I do protest, I go to demonstrations, but my rule is I have to give the drive to it. It has to be within, say, 300-400 miles of me, so it's my basic community, right? But otherwise, just to be another body in the streets, it's not worth the fossil fuels. It's not worth my staff time as a Move to Men organizer. It's just not worth it to just go and shake my fist. But then I started to get contacted by Imam Paul Hassan in Cleveland, Greg Coleridge with the American Friends Service Committee, the Catholic Ministries, who wanted me there to be part of something that they were calling the People's Convention for Justice and Peace, which they were describing as a participatory process where not only Cleveland organizers, but key people from across the country who worked on peace, justice, democracy, ecological protection were coming together to create a people's platform process. And I kid you not, Anoa, within the same, say, 48 hours, I then learn about the people's process in Philadelphia, where the same thing was happening through Jackrabbit and Shauna and the others, where you and I met. And I said, something is happening here, because I've been to all of the other DNC and RNC protests, and very seldom workshops maybe, but never this level of highly participatory, independent motion where a interconnected platform gets created together. And looky here, they did not know that they were they had not talked to each other yet, but they were both doing it in both places. So I just wanted to share with your viewers the sense I have something is different. And I experienced that in the streets of Cleveland. I experienced it in the streets of Philadelphia. And then to ease into the big picture, I'll tell you, I think we have to just name it. And that is this. We are living in historic times. That is to say, an ecological crisis. It's not coming, it's here and getting worse. An economic crisis. It's not coming, it's here and getting worse. Oh, and by the way, any of y'all who thought that the mortgage debt crisis was bad, which it was, wait, because the Democrats and Republicans have basically recreated the entire structure and formula. It's coming back. And if you think that was bad, and it was, wait till this student debt crisis hits. It's about 10 times bigger. So we have an an economic crisis. And here's the other thing. Capitalism can't solve this economic crisis. Capitalism is this economic crisis. So then you add the political crisis, where more and more people are experiencing that the institutions don't work for them. That all representative democracy was supposed to work and supposed to be responsible to organize people coming together. The system doesn't work. That's why the Trump phenomenon and the Sanders phenomenon both erupted as maverick campaigns. I know I'm talking a lot, Anoa, but I wanted to give the big picture first to say this moment that we're in, and then let's add Occupy Wall Street, Black Lives Matter, Move to Amend, the campaign to abolish corporate personhood, the 15 Now movement, the climate justice movement. All these various, they cannot be contained within or controlled by the leadership of the Democratic Party as it currently operates. These movements are either going to fundamentally, inextricably transform the existing Democratic Party, or they will destroy it. I just don't think that they can any longer be contained where Wall Street financiers and Black Lives Matter and Occupy Wall Street and Move to Amend and the climate justice movements can actually be in the same political moment or in the same political organization.
We even saw that tension. Yeah, exactly. We even saw that tension. And I'm sure Michael will get to it a little bit when he comes on to talk. But we even saw that tension when you look at who was speaking, right, at the convention itself. You have your mothers of the movement, and then you have Bloomberg, Mr. Stop and Frisk, Mr. Black Men Shouldn't Own Guns, all on the same stage, all hailing the same, queen, so to speak, for lack of a better term. And it's very, very, it's not even just tenuous. It's very, it's not tenuous. It's not complicated. It's incongruent. Exactly. I mean, Movement for Black Lives, as everyone knows, or if you guys don't know, just released this really brilliant platform. It's a year-long process that several different groups and dozens of individuals have been working on really hard. Jack had reached out to them in terms of the People's Convention process, but we knew they had already been working on this process. And I really would encourage anyone that's interested in doing any of this work and movement platforms and things like that should definitely read their platform and adopt it, embrace it, help make it come into fruition, because it's expansive, it's phenomenal. But that platform, right, that spirit, that document, that action that's necessary cannot exist within who the DNC is welcoming into the party. I mean, we're excited to have, Republican, basically refugees almost, coming in to vote for Hillary, where these are the same people that work with state and local, Republican leaders to gut voting rights across the country, for just one example.
Right.
And just one example. So I agree with what you're saying about this current. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so I appreciate, that's just one example. There are so many, and that's the reason why I was so excited when I started to, frankly, learn about you, Anoa, and watch some of your stuff. I mean, looky here. I did my due diligence, right? I mean, so I have a sense of you and where you're coming from. And what you represent, which for me is authentic calls for transformational change. I know that you are working within the Democratic Party as much as possible, but I also see that you are first and foremost authentic about what your demands are. So to me, looky here, I'm a green, right? And I'm a green because not out of idealism, but my cold, calculated analysis about what it's going to take to actually win, right? Because I worked on Jesse Jackson's campaigns in 1984 and 1988. I worked on Jerry Brown's campaign in 1992. Bill Clinton turned me into a green with NAFTA, Don't Ask, Don't Tell, the Telecommunications Act of 1996, No Child Left Behind. I go down the list, right? And frankly, I mark my words. Bill Clinton created the Green Party. Hillary Clinton is going to grow it, because of the neoliberal agenda that they represent. And again, nothing personal. It is just the trajectory historically of what we're experiencing. The other thing I want to point out is this. A political revolution cannot be won, W-O-N, by any one candidate, no matter how great she or he is. A political revolution cannot be run, R-U-N, in just one election cycle. A real political revolution requires sustained effort, an analysis around how power operates, and a strategic plan, not just to tinker at the margins, but to transform social, political, and economic institutions. That's the reason, as a Move to Amend organizer, to address the illegitimate court-created idea that corporations are persons with inherent and inalienable constitutional rights is my excitement to be working with you and others like you for a constitutional amendment. Because as a lawyer, you know what I know. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And this land is fundamentally racist, it's fundamentally sexist, and it's fundamentally class oppressive. Oh, and these huge transnational corporations are literally going to destroy the planet that we depend upon for life itself if we do not stop them. The Move to Amend campaign is a way to peacefully, and I say lovingly, wage nonviolent revolution in a winning way. And so, to me, all of the things that are in motion now, they've just not been in motion before, Anoa. And this idea, I've got an idea that I'm going to start to float on this program. The Cleveland Peace and Justice Coalition and the platform that was created through that participatory process, the People's Convention and the participatory platform created through that process in Philly, post-election, let's gather together those two forces and continue to massage and build an independent political demand, independent of the leadership of both of the two parties, of any party for that matter. A political demand where we, the people, are saying what we expect our politicians, our elected officials, and anybody seeking our votes to respond to us. And get this, I'm talking about the day after the election so that there's no lame duck TPP passed on us, to make sure that whoever the lame duck, that our movement continues, so post-election. And then get this, post-inauguration, let's convene back to back immediately after the election and immediately after the inauguration to basically say we are not governable by the old rules of where the elites tell us what we have to accept. Let's take a lesson from Africa, North Africa, South and Central America, the global South, where they actually organize mass movements to force political establishments to react and respond to them rather than us go on bended knee to them. It's a different mindset.